say consistency is everything. So usually that makes us kind of slower to do some things, makes us more thoughtful, maybe with some of our decisions. Maybe we're trying to make a more sustainable move. I think that's one of those little taglines that kind of can give you a sneak peek into how we do things at Valor.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Valor Coffee Podcast. Today it was just me and Ethan chopping it up on a continuation of last week's episode where we talked about our service philosophies, some of the things that help us convey our values, and certain phrases and definitions that we can lean into to convey our values. So today we talked about consistency, and Ethan, what was the other one we talked about?
See the one.
And see the one. So if you want to hear about how we treat our guests in both of those areas, then stay tuned. We do want to point you guys to a partnership we have with Clive Coffee. So Clive, they sell amazing coffee equipment for home, commercial use, lots of great things to outfit your cart with. And the cool thing about Clive is that if you use code VALOR5 at checkout, you can get 5% off Eureka and Luca equipment. 5% is a lot on those big purchases, so make sure to do that. Lastly, our community is very close to dropping. We have an August 1st goal date. If it's not then, it will be shortly after. So if you want to sign up for news on that, click the first top link in our bio. Space is going to be limited for the first 1 to 3 months, so we're only going to take so many people. So get on there and you will receive the email and have a chance to sign up first. Love y'all.
Hey man, let's cheers to an epic clink, quad clink.
Let's go.
I am your host, Ethan.
Yes, you are.
Welcome to my podcast.
All skibbity, no toilet.
That's kind of what everybody's saying. Is getting some national recognition, but the new catchphrase, all skibbity, no toilet.
If you like the Valor Coffee Podcast, I almost said the Valor Podcast. If you like the Valor Coffee Podcast, go to Apple Podcasts and give us a review, 5 stars, and say all skibbity, no toilet.
That would mean the world to me personally.
Really would.
Dude, are you still sore from your bar shift last week?
Oh, dude, I haven't been the same since.
You've been marked.
Yeah, I was off in that podcast, that's for sure, because I was just tired.
Well, that was a long day.
Yeah.
Some of us played Frisbee before too. And Ross was a little. So you were.
He was sick. He wasn't just like a bad guy.
Well, whatever. I was saying you had a lot of weight on your shoulders. I was tired from Frisbee. Ross was sick, and you're like, I gotta, who's gonna carry the boats?
And then I was just putting my foot in my mouth the whole time.
Really?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
I haven't listened back yet.
Oh, crap.
I'm sure it was epic. Well, I don't listen back for personal reasons. We listen back so we can, find good little highlight spots for the IG reels.
That's right.
Just a little pull behind the curtain moment there for you, you know?
And we always take too long to do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just... I'm in the shop all the time, and when I'm in the car, I'm like, this is my time. I'm going to listen
Mai
to...
Tai.
I'm gonna drink a Mai Tai in my car and, listen to my music.
Muay Thai.
Do Muay Thai with my Mai Tai.
On your time.
On my time. That was epic. Smash like. For more. We'll keep going.
Hey, can I tell you something?
Go right ahead.
You know this.
Right.
Because you're a genius. I'm not even telling you something. I just want to tell other people something before I forget it. And then we can talk about like fun stuff. What do you think the most unforeseen cost associated with opening a coffee roastery is?
The most unforeseen, like initial, like a purchase?
I'm not going to say. I'm just going to tell you it's a trick question.
Okay.
Kind of. It's tricky.
My first thought was like your power bill or your gas bill.
Okay.
But what's the trick question?
The answer is every time you roast a coffee, you lose 15% of it to the air. Isn't that crazy?
What's going on?
So I think about this.
Where'd it go?
And maybe I was blindsided, except for I'm sure that Will Shirts from Methodical just told me, and it was probably the first time I heard it. But
You're just getting lost in his eyes. I was like,
yeah, when you put 30 pounds of coffee in a coffee roaster, you get like 25 pounds of coffee back. I don't know if that's exact, but you understand what I'm saying. So it changes your entire philosophy where when you order coffee from an importer or, wherever, you might see that it's $2.90 a pound or $5 a pound. That coffee at the end of the day is not $5 a pound. It's more.
And what's being lost is moisture.
Yeah. Moisture, chaff.
Yeah, some of the layers on the coffee bean.
Other chemical compounds.
That we'll leave nameless,
Yeah.
Dude, that's huge.
Yeah.
You roast more than you think. You have to buy more than you think.
Oh, yeah.
You have to price more than you think.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, whenever someone orders 25 pounds of coffee from you, you don't just put 25 pounds of coffee in the roaster. You put more than that.
But what's interesting on that, and I'm going to take it to the cafe, is people make like a gallon recipe for drip, but I feel like it's pretty often like you yield like 100 ounces because of the liquid retention ratio. People say like, oh, let me get a gallon of drip, like for a full batch,
Well, you would,
one would think you
would still do 1:16 because it's just the same way that you make a pour over. You don't make a pour over with the liquid retention ratio in mind.
Right. But nobody's talking about that because when you
it's like, why is the carafe a gallon capacity?
Well, yeah.
I guess you could brew over.
Chicken or the egg.
Can you brew over?
I'm sure.
Gallon? On a 1 gallon brewer?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it's got the capacity, especially like a dual header,
Huh.
Well, maybe.
Well, that's why this whole ratio thing doesn't make any sense because there's not standardization. Because espresso,
it's the other way.
Yeah. Which I guess it has to be until there's a machine that can do something else.
But why would you?
But let's just keep it simple.
But for anyone that's curious, that most people probably are with us right now. But the liquid retention ratio is basically whatever the dose of your coffee is, 2 times that weight is what the amount of water that holds on to your coffee is. So if I'm making a pour over like I just did, my dose was 40 grams. That means I'm losing 80 grams of water to the coffee bed. So even though I ended out at 640, I'm only pouring out 560. Dude, mind equals blown. Am I right?
Yeah, no joke. You love the liquid retention ratio. You talk about it more than anyone.
Yeah, well, it's not that helpful. And that's kind of my shtick, A little fun factoid.
Let me give you something on top of that. That weight loss science.
Hit me with it.
Because it was really scientific. Number 2 unforeseen cost, shipping the coffee. That has to go into the cost of the coffee. It can't go anywhere else. So at the end of the day, you have a coffee whose price per pound is whatever. And then you have the fact that you're only going to get 85% of that coffee from it. It changes from roaster to roaster. Let's call it like 12 to 20%.
Yep.
But 15%. And then you're going to have to take shipping and factor in the shipping into it. So if you ordered 10 sacks, every sack needs to incur an equal share of that shipping.
Yep.
You could, I guess you could like total up your weight and distribute it by like how much each sack weighs, but that's not how shipping works. It's just like no matter what weight of sack you're shipping, it's like you have to, unless you're shipping like super small sacks, you can only ship 10 on a pallet.
And you're not talking about shipping out when someone buys coffee. You're talking about how much it costs to get that sack of coffee to us.
So it's like that $3 per pound coffee after you ship it and lose 15% of it quickly becomes $3.50, $3.60, whatever. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but you feel me.
Yeah, and because it's like the thing we sell, it's not, it's not something where we're like, oh, we'll just make the customer pay for it. But it's more of a, how do we model our pricing to allow us to stay in business?
Yeah.
And similarly, if I can get really honest with you
Please.
about something, there's something to that with the cafe as well. I've been experiencing where we have vanilla powder around. And so if someone's very adamant that, hey, I do not want the lavender vanilla, we'll do like a simple syrup, stir up the vanilla powder and just make a little vanilla on the fly. And you're like, well, that was two free things coming together. Now it should be $1? And you're like, what's going on there? It's less that like, I would love for everything to be free, more or less. But I'm like, man, well, that's honestly, it's like selling drinks with syrups in them is like a big part of like what helps us pay rent.
Yeah.
Because rent ain't going to pay itself and people aren't going to pay themselves. Like we have to do things to incur money into our bank account. So even though it's like two things that were free, I'm like, well, now it's a thing that would demand, but may require payment. Kind of interesting.
Mm. Wow. I haven't thought about it like that. It's just like how we've had this conversation about, are we going to have to start charging for honey?
Because it's so
expensive. It's more expensive than our syrups.
It's more expensive than like anything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But it's just free so many places. Now, do we use high quality local honey? Yes.
Do we have to do that? No. Did we do that? No. But are we doing it now? Yes.
Yeah.
What's worth it? Because even if we charge 50 cents, you're not even breaking even.
No.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're just helping get our money back if we charge 50%.
Those orders are massive too. You just order 16 gallons and I'm getting calls from the honey place. Don't even know how they got my number. They're like,
you had the account first. Did you know that?
What?
You had an account with them. And they're like, I'm calling to set up an account. They're like, we already have an account with Valor Coffee. Riley Westbrook. And I was like, how do you know that name?
What?
I was like, take him off the account. I'm in charge now.
Okay, well, that's how they have my number. I don't remember when that happened. But they call me and they say, did you mean to order this much honey?
16 gallons. It's not even that much, but it is a lot.
They're like, this is a lot for a little coffee shop.
You're like, well.
Well, actually, we're medium-sized to large.
Really?
What?
Do you think medium-sized?
Medium? I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that we push pretty on the high end of volume in the specialty coffee market in Georgia.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
Dare I say?
No.
Towards the very top, but who am I to say?
First thought,
someone who looks at the numbers. But
I mean, like Perk's pretty big. They got a lot of cafes.
Mm.
Who else has a lot of cafes? Spiller Park's got a lot of cafes, but they don't roast their own coffee.
Brash has multiple cafes.
Yeah.
East Pole has 2 cafes.
Sure.
In Atlanta.
Bellwood's got a few cafes.
Bellwood.
Portrait's got a pretty banging wholesale presence.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to all of our Georgia roasty homies. We see you.
Yeah, a lot of people. I was talking to someone recently, and I was talking to them about how sizable part of our business is wholesale coffee. And I mean, I guess if you don't think about this, you don't think about that. But they were like, I didn't even think about how coffee shops use other people's beans. I just think of everyone roasting for themselves. And this is someone who drinks specialty coffee. And he was like, I go to all these places and they just have their own coffee. And that is very much the case, I feel like, in Atlanta right now for a lot of places. Like, they just roast their own.
I know. Yeah. Well, I've had some interviews lately and people are like, oh, you guys roast. What accounts do you have in Atlanta? And I'm like,
You're like, we have more accounts in like
Alabama,
the Panhandle than we do in Atlanta,
Tennessee, North Carolina. Like, well, I don't know. That's a different conversation, but there's something to like, we're kind of in the burbs,
Yeah.
and we're maybe considered not as with it, ITP versus OTP. I don't know if any other city slickers out there. Do you think that happens in other cities? Definitely, right? Do people talk about the perimeter?
I mean, let's talk about the metro area. We call it, I think they don't all call it the perimeter because we call it the perimeter because of 285.
Thank you, 285.
Now, there are other perimeter highways out there.
Right, exactly.
Like,
right.
Totally.
Well, hey, you want to get on to it? Hey, well, I actually want to ask you a question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm your accountability partner. Anything you need.
Does Jude ever pick out his own clothes, your son?
He has started to choose things very recently. Very recently.
Yeah.
It's just funny, dude. You look at kids before you have kids, especially, my wife and I, we're not with it by any means, but
hey, you're very cool.
I'm very much like, I like to wear solid colored shirts, nothing crazy. But then you get a kid and a grandparent gets them a Toy Story t-shirt.
Right.
And then all they want to wear is the Toy Story t-shirt.
And you're like, but what about Buck Mason Jr.'s? Little Buckies.
What about Baby Outlier? I don't know.
Right.
And that's where we are right now. So if I ever laid out like a blue shirt or like a shirt with Duke Kaboom on it, he's going
Duke
Kaboom
right.
all day.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in a similar boat because we just don't get Temple anything. It's all hand-me-down from our families, which is epic.
Yeah.
Free clothes, the better. But it's just kind of like, well, our kid doesn't look, cool. But
yeah,
I think he's cool.
I know. You see, I definitely have people in my inner circle who like the moms are thrifting for their kids a lot. And that's not us. It's like grandparents get us graphic Toy Story t-shirt, or we buy like a 5-pack of Amazon basics, like in like 5 colors, and like he wears that. Kid clothes, I guess they could be expensive, but it's like I feel like we don't spend a lot, and he wears stuff for so long.
Really?
People, I mean, compared to what I expected.
Yeah.
Because I expected it to be like, and I guess there are growth spurts or whatever, but I expected it to be like constantly rotating his clothes. But like he's been wearing these like white Nikes for like 6 months or something.
I feel like 0 to 18 months, there's a lot of change, and then you just kind of hit this.
Yeah.
They're around the same size for a little bit.
Yeah, because he's probably only gained like a pound in the past 6 months or something.
Oh, wow.
He's definitely gotten a little...
They're feeding him, guys. I've seen him eat.
He's gotten a little taller, but
yeah,
it really slowed down. And then you're like, huh.
Well, it's funny to look back how chunky babies are.
I know. We were looking at pictures of
rotund.
Him being a little chubby
like
last
you
night.
Pop. You poke them. They start to get a little more shape.
But yeah, if we're ever going to like watch a movie or something, I'll give him 2 options. This is where it's funny. He like doesn't get it. I'm like, all right, do you want to watch Toy Story or I don't know,
Duke Kaboom?
Cars. Duke Kaboom's in Toy Story.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know who Duke Kaboom was.
Or like Cars, and he'll be like, Elmo.
You're like,
except he calls Elmo Elbow. He'll be like, Elbow. That's how he says it. Elbow. And I'm like, that wasn't an option. And I know you don't actually want to watch Elbow.
I know you don't want to watch Elbow.
Because he doesn't. If I turned on Sesame Street, he would like
just walk away.
Yeah, he would phase out, which is fine. Like, go play.
Yeah.
Get outside.
Yeah, get outside. Just watch out for snakes.
Yeah, watch out for snakes.
Dude, it's snake season, man. We're just talking about that over here in Georgia. Whatever. Hey. We don't need to talk about copperheads. As the host, I'm going to keep it moving. Guys, I'm sure you haven't noticed, we don't have a sponsor today. This was brewed with third wave water, but we're not getting paid to say it right now.
Yeah.
So we're just enjoying it for what it is. We're also drinking our Chirroso. Hombre's lot.
I think we ordered more of this coffee than we formerly thought. You know that?
Is it around?
I think it might be on its last leg. But
Okay.
I think originally we had thought that we had only ordered like 100 pounds, and then we had actually ordered more.
Hey, that happens, man. Hey, it's an awesome coffee, so
Yeah, it's been nice to have around.
keep it around.
You've been blowing minds with it. You've also been blowing minds with the low O2 Rwanda.
Yes. Yeah,
Give us the full name of that one.
It's this is just my pronunciation. Haven't heard from the source, but we call it Rwanda Abishi Zehamwe, low O2. It rolls really well.
Yeah.
And it's our seasonal espresso right now, which is full on gas. It's kind of that classic Valor seasonal espresso recipe. 20 grams in, 60 grams out. Pretty much as fine as you can take it on the EK. 23 seconds. It's awesome.
Nice.
It really reminded me. You ever go to Fuzzy Wigs at the Outlet Mall?
Oh, yeah.
They had those like candy tapes. They were like, had the sour sugar
like
on
rainbow?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tasted like the blue raspberry one of that.
Ooh.
I was like,
It just sent chills up my spine because I can just taste the
citric
Yeah.
pop. Yeah, it's amazingly bright, and we usually don't use the word acidic too much when we're talking about awesome coffee, but it is like acidic, but it's so sweet and enjoyable at the same time.
Hey, remember that coffee packaging that one time? Acidity isn't a crime.
Right. Was that the Italian coffee?
I can't remember.
Who's to say?
Acidity ain't a crime. That's how we would say it in the South.
Yeah, we're like, it ain't no big deal, y'all. But it's been epic. I picked up Ross on Sunday. I made him an iced coffee shot of the Rwanda Abishi Zehamwe Low O2 Natural, and I gave it to him. And Ross is a staunch critic of our product. He's not one to be like, this is good, or I like this.
He's always rolling his eyes.
He's always like, hey, can we swing by Starbucks? And he could not stop talking about it.
Wow.
He was like, this is a coffee shot? I'm like, yeah. He's like, dang. The Rwanda? Yeah. He's like, man, that's good. And I was like, wow.
Did he know which Rwanda?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have another Rwanda, the Akagera Izikere, and it's a lot more traditional, sweet, freaky, but yummy.
We're about to release a lot more literature about our box colors and like a key to like let people know. Something I wanted to bring up with everyone is we have to stop calling the light blue menu slot freaky. That's not the descriptor for it. And I've also been guilty of that.
What is it?
Because we have other coffees that are freaky as well.
Right.
It's funky.
No.
Yeah. I know.
But I just labeled all the dosers yesterday FRE for freaky. So now I'm going to do FUN fun, which is
even
fun.
better.
Yeah.
I did see that, and I did have that thought. And that's not what spurred this conversation on.
How did you sleep last night? You're just like,
Well, I read it this morning.
oh, okay.
And it like set me off. Like it started my day off really bad.
Like, I'm going to have to make this guy pay for what he did.
Yeah, especially after you didn't respond to my text message about the CO2 infuser.
No. Oh, well, gosh darn it.
Because I thought you were working. We said we were both going to work until
through the night. Yeah.
until like 10 or 11.
Right. Well, that touches on a deeper thing of I don't have YouTube on my phone. Well, as my accountability partner, I'm sure you already know that. So I feel like anytime someone sends me a YouTube video, I'm always like, yeah, can't do anything about this. But my wife showed me how to access my messages from my computer.
No.
So now I can open YouTube. I can open the YouTube links.
Dude, that's crazy.
Instead of having to like copy it and like email it to myself or something.
Hear this. If you switch to an iPhone, all that's just built in. Isn't that crazy?
What do you mean?
You just have a message app
I know.
on your computer.
I just got a new phone because the screen was breaking.
Whoa.
So I'll see how long this lasts.
Is it better than the last one? Does your camera app open?
Yeah, the camera app opens. I have a Google Pixel. I'm sure
Everyone who listens
we
knows.
talk about it. Yeah, it's rough, but darn it. I just, switching phone carriers just seems, is everything okay?
The camera stopped.
Oh, we're probably talking about something like coffee.
We're talking about your phone, actually.
Naturally. Hey, on to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we still call it the meat and potatoes. Hey, I'm a rusty host. All right. Last week we were going over some service philosophies, things that we kind of use in and around the cafes and heck, even the company, to model or maybe just have as a guideline for why do we do what we do, and is what we're doing adhering to this kind of stuff. Because we have 5 core values as a company. And then usually under those, just have some philosophies towards work and service that kind of help direct us. So if we're just moving along through that, we can talk on a couple today under 2 different core values. One of the core values being details matter. Your favorite one, Mr. Detail. And this one is cool because we have a service philosophy about consistency. We say consistency is everything. And that's bold words. Them's fighting words. Because I think that's one of those little taglines that kind of can give you a sneak peek into how we do things at Valor. You know, as far as if you hold us up against other very creative or very like organic companies, we have this call or this desire within us to be consistent in what we do. So usually that makes us kind of slower to do some things, makes us more like thoughtful maybe with some of our decisions. Maybe we're a little trying to make a more sustainable move. But man, how does consistency is everything affect your work?
Well, I start by thinking of experiences that I've had in especially service, restaurant, coffee shop experiences, where the one sticking out in mind right now is me and Michaela have this pizza place that we love. I'm not going to say the town it's in because it would give it away, and I don't want to put them on blast.
It smell a mushroom. I'm kidding.
So we love this pizza place, and anytime we're in this area, the first thing we do is get pizza and wings from this place.
Wow. I don't even know what this place is.
I know. And
I'm going to get to learn later, suckers, because we can talk off camera.
It's also, do you remember last week whenever we were having the argument about the rum?
Yeah.
And I was like, Grayson, play back what I said, because I think I said 23. I said 23. And Ross said I had a $3 margin of error, so I was right.
Dude, and look where Ross is.
Yeah.
He's running.
Yeah.
He's on the
out of
lam.
here. So, the pizza place.
Right.
We have probably been here to this place like 15 times.
Dang.
And
you're obsessed.
Yeah. And the most recent time, the pizza just sucked.
No.
Yeah.
What sucked about it?
I'm like, all right, 14 out of 15 is good.
That is good.
It was just overdone and lightly topped.
Awesome.
Yeah. But whenever I think about that pizza place, I was just telling someone about it yesterday. And I was like, hey, we always go to this awesome pizza place. Actually, now that I think about it, my most recent visit, it kind of sucked. Like, I literally said that to them.
So it's like, so who knows what you're going to get now?
Yeah. And maybe I'm just a bad guy for saying that.
You're not a bad guy. And us saying consistency is everything doesn't mean that we are performing that. Because, heck, what happens when someone goes to Valor 15 times? There's probably a good handful of people that have. And it's like, was the drink fuego every time?
I can't even say, listen, sorry, pit crew. I can't say that about my last 15 experiences.
Maybe I can't even say that about my 15 times taking care of people in line,
Yeah.
Like just 15 runs in a row. And, you're fighting against that old idiom of, you can't bat 1,000%, but darn it, we're going to try.
Yeah.
And there's something that we usually say in the cafes around like, hey, all this talk of training and authenticity and like very empathetic, sincere service, we really want to see that matched with systematic like drink building, as in, we want everybody making the same microfoam, putting the same amount and this is really elementary, but putting the same amount of syrup in drinks, building drinks the same way, having the same bar flow, the same process, because I think a lot of shops, but definitely one of our biggest fears is like, I really don't want Valor to be the place where you walk in and you kind of like scan and you're like, oh, Joey's on bar. He knows how to make my drink.
Yeah.
Or, ooh, Lilybee's on bar. She makes the best cappuccino, Or even some people have the gall to be like, hey, can that person make my drink? And you're like, oh, no. You have to ask that because you've experienced something that requires that, So we've lost. It's not like that guest is bad.
Yeah.
They're good. But man, that's something we really have to fight for. And it's interesting in such a creative space, right? To put structure in place and to put like parameters on things to be consistent. Maybe one example, we haven't done pour overs. We find that pour overs can be really inconsistent in a high volume commercial setting. Mm-hmm. But the coffee shot with our espresso machine, that's like 10x more consistent. Mm-hmm. And that's a fact, 10x.
Yeah.
Like look that up.
Yep. 10x, 1000% more consistent is what you're saying.
Hey, honestly, dude, if I made 10 pour overs and I made 10 coffee shots,
that's facts.
No cap. I think it would be pretty clear.
That would be all skibbity, no
toilet. Right.
Yeah, it's funny how consistency is so different, like the definition in our different departments of our business. Mm-hmm. You're talking about making all the drinks the same and giving a consistent guest experience to everyone.
Right.
Here in the roastery, it's like we have to match roast profiles to a curve.
Right.
And that is how we create consistency, or the way we package the product. When we ship products out, getting things out on time, making sure that UPS picks up the product and doesn't randomly not show up one day. And if they don't, we have to take it ourselves to a UPS store.
Not that that's ever happened.
No, not that happens all the time. So that's a very different form of consistency. Consistency for me is like, I have to be the guy who is over the brand and how Valor displays itself to the public, which is a very interesting thing to do when you have a company full of creative people who want to put their creativity on display.
Right.
Which is an awesome thing, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Epic.
We have found ourselves in a place in the past where our brand kind of ran wild with a bunch of different elements.
Right.
And it was honestly a big blow to our company's identity. And we went through this brand refresh and had to be like, all right, this is what we are. We're not going to escape these boundaries. It's called branding guidelines. And now I am the guy who has to enforce those, for lack of better terms, and sometimes say no, or sometimes say, we're going to have to change that. But that, again, is just all for the same goal, which is a consistent product, a consistent brand for people. It's one might be drinking a cup of coffee, another might be what they see on Instagram.
Yeah, over the years, just in the last year, I feel like things have really gotten more consistent because of that, from an online presence or a digital presence. So, hey, good job.
Hey,
that's kind of epic. Man, in the cafes too, I was just thinking about fighting for consistency as far as guest experience of, how do you do that in between volume, right? You want it to be epic when you come in and it's super busy, and epic when it's really slow. But you have so many different variables are at play.
Yeah.
So there is something to true flexibility and knowing, okay, I can make this experience awesome. The maybe the goals for what would make an experience awesome kind of shift per moment, right?
I just thought about, there are all these circumstances that are out of your control. Made me think of Chris from Keys to the Shop when he was telling us when he visited our cafe, there was like a sewage problem happening.
Oops.
Awesome.
Yeah, I pooped on the ground.
Which is clearly, it's like, how can you control that guest experience? So there was that at play, but he was like, everyone was still so on. Everyone was still having a good time, tending to the guests, weren't panicking.
Yeah.
Don't panic.
See previous episode.
Yeah. So, it's like, even if you can't deliver a consistent experience because your outside variables, your attitude, your, pacing, your setting the thermostat for space can remain at that high bar.
Hey, and you know what kind of connects with this is another service philosophy that's a little newer to the service philosophy canon. See the one. We talk about that a lot more these days, but like all of that, right, comes down to in the moment you're taking care of a person, or you're this is a zoom in on a cafe, so sorry, but you worked in the cafe, so you get it.
Yeah.
Man, it pairs up with consistency so well because, like, dude, if I made 39 perfect caramel cardamom lattes, but the 40th one I over aerated and underfilled the cup and didn't measure my syrup, to the person that's getting that drink, it doesn't matter that I nailed the other ones. They're getting a hot, stinky mess.
Yeah.
So it's this zoom in on, like, it's a zoom in and a zoom out. You're zooming in on the person and you're like, this is their individual experience here. And we're zooming out to say, it doesn't matter that I've been making drinks all day.
Yep.
This is the one time
That's crazy.
Jim has been in the cafe today.
Yep.
He doesn't know, or maybe he cares, but he doesn't know that I've been working all day and making drinks, and that all those could have been awesome. But it's like, how are we showing up for that one person in that one moment in a very specific and consistent way?
That's crazy.
Because there's something too of, like, we can go all out on someone and then we're like, oh, I got to take a breather for the next 30 minutes because I just, I emptied the tank.
That makes me think of, your joking remark about not batting 1,000. It's like, if you almost said batting 100, that would be like terrible. So don't bat 100 either. But like you're saying, if you're on bar all day and you're like, hey, I made 90% of drinks well today, and you made 100 drinks, that means that 10 drinks, 10 people received a bad product from you that maybe upset them, or like made them think, oh, I'm not going to come back to Valor. Whenever, if they came back the next time, maybe they would have gotten one of your good drinks.
Right.
So, dang.
Yeah, you got to close the gap.
So what do you do?
Well, right. And I was thinking, okay, so start getting more strict on just saying, hey, I made a bad drink. I got to do it again. And having a team come around that philosophy is powerful.
I was doing that a lot the day I was on bar.
You're like, redo. But see, that's where growing as a professional really starts to come into play, because, like, it's one thing to be like, yeah, remake the drink if it's bad. But I'm like, dude, if you have to keep remaking drinks, I'm like, we are having a different systemic issue in the space, which is times of drinks getting out, people not getting their drinks in a good time, and then they're upset. Or they're not upset, but they're...
Refire chefs.
Yeah. Hey, we've been there. So it's like, definitely for everybody, I think there needs to be a team buy-in of, like, we have a phrase called send it to Norway. We're like, hey, let's just get that thing out of here. Like, we love you.
Why send it to Norway?
I don't know.
Norway's awesome.
Well, that's the thing. They need a little bit of something, I don't know.
A slice of humble pie because they're so awesome.
Someone was saying the origins was like Norway. Like, Norway, we should do that. And then other people were like, oh, it's just because Lilby was in Norway when we came up with that. Anyways, but that's been awesome. Like, sometimes I just got to redo a drink. Sometimes, anybody. Yeah. But if you find yourself having to remake drinks over and over again to hit the standard, it's like probably just need to like back up and do some fundamentals training and like learn, because you're creating a new problem if you just dump every other drink. And that's happened before. You know, if someone's just in a rut, they're like, oh, I can't get my milk today. It's like, that's where the team consistency of like, okay, we can't do this. Whoever is our point on staff is like, all right, hey man, you're epic. And now you're gonna switch around. Let's get some fresh legs in here. Yeah. It's like baseball again.
Yeah, I just like baseball.
They get the bullpen.
Who's on deck?
Snitker comes out and has a little chat.
Maybe like does some yelling.
Really?
Gets kicked out. No, he doesn't yell at the pitchers. I've never seen that.
I was like, what?
He just yells at like the ump if there's a bad call.
Yeah.
Gets tossed. Hey, I like that one so much. I want to hear another service philosophy.
Dude, I was gonna actually stop it.
Okay, great.
I was thinking, see the one, and consistency is everything is a really, really good thing to chew on.
2 is so good. I was just itching for
a
3.
bonus.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Hey,
next week.
a reason to come back.
Next week, what are you going to talk about? I heard that Lil B's going to be on.
Yeah, next week I think Lil B's going to come on. Maybe we'll get in that third one. We'll see. She has a way of, bringing things up.
Yeah.
She's got a way with words. So maybe I'll let her, cast some vision.
Yeah.
But hey, stay tuned, man. Ross, we miss you. Seriously. Hope you're well.
Ross, you're fine.
Ross, come back, dude. I know that you were wrong about the Florida Kanye thing, but we can get you back.
It's fine. All right, dude. Love you. It's nice to have a me and you time.
Yes, this was all skibbity, no toilet.